When Law and Order break down, quote, people are afraid right now. You can see it in their faces. Cities from coast to coast are facing unprecedented budget deficits that have left government officials with no choice but to strip police forces to a bare minimum. We now regularly hear about new records being broken and the resulting crime waves that follow. Law enforcement officials in Chicago, for example, have said that their city has deteriorated into a domestic war zone with gang violence, leaving scores of people dead on a regular basis. Murder, rape, robbery, and assault have skyrocketed in bankrupt Stockton, California, suggesting that local governments are quickly losing control. In New Jersey, the city of Camden may soon be granted the dubious distinction of being the poorest and most violent city in America. On a walkway 20 feet away, a middle-aged man lies dead, shot in the throat and head, sprawled on his back beside a battered 10-speed bicycle. His face is masked in blood that gleams bright red in the crime scene photographer's flash. Johnson watches tight-lipped as investigators comb the grass for shell casings. Kids play out here. Average people live here, he says. I'm shaking. It's getting too close. Gunfire rings out often in the neighborhood, he says. A regular reminder of the crime wave that has the city of 77,000 people on pace to double its homicides in just 3 years and has already shattered a nearly 20-year record for killings. With 59 homicides so far this year, the murder rate is on par with levels seen in Haiti in the chaotic aftermath of the 2010 earthquake. A bullet has no name. If somebody shoots and I'm walking, I could be hit, Johnson says. People are afraid right now. You can see it in their faces. The crime surge coincides with the new census data identifying Camden, New Jersey, long battered by vanishing industry, as the most impoverished city in the United States, with 42% of residents under the poverty line and an average family income of only $21,191. If trends persist, Camden may soon hold the grim title of both the country's poorest and most dangerous city. That was a snippet from the Huffington Post. As local, state, and federal officials in the United States realize the reality of our fiscal and economic situations, they will be forced to make serious cuts in areas that have become essential to the American way of life. Personal safety, food security, health care, and critical public services will inevitably be sacrificed as across-the-board austerity measures become the norm, not the exception. Impoverishment will lead to desperation and anger, which in turn leads to nothing left to lose attitudes and a rise in violence and criminal activity. The system is broke. The mathematics are simple. There is not enough money to go around. What we are seeing in Chicago, Detroit, Stockton, and Camden is going to spread. Once again, that's from Mac Slavo at theshoeshitthefanplan.com. I'm not trying to fearmonger, but it's the truth. And I don't know if anybody knows whether it's going to be panic like on one day you wake up and now we've experienced hyperinflation, it's game time, or if they're going to continue to just slowly, through incrementalism, just slowly deprive us of our jobs, of our purchasing power via inflation from the private central bank Federal Reserve. Slowly let it ramp up. They've already got nearly 47 million Americans dependent on the federal government to put food on their plates. That's the latest food stamp numbers. The largest debt that any nation in the history of the world has ever known, and our money isn't even backed on by anything. So I just wanted to read that to anyone who's in denial, to anyone who thinks that it can't happen here. It's slowly spreading around the country. So you can either admit it to yourself and start to take steps today or tomorrow morning. I know it's already, 8:15 on the East Coast. Take the steps necessary to make yourself independent, to be as free as you possibly can in this unfree world that we live in. Shun them, ignore them, leave them alone. And once again, people say, oh, well, the drones are going to come get us, 30,000 drones. Is that going to happen before the collapse or after the collapse? Do you think we're going to be able to afford to put 30,000 drones in the skies if our currency is dead? People say, oh, well, what about FEMA? It's going to take me away. Is there much you can do about that right now? We haven't had it happen yet, folks. And if it starts happening, then it'll be up to individuals on an individual level to make the decision what they're going to do. You have the right to defend yourself. I'm not saying bow down and cower. Look at what happened in Russia when they started going door to door, taking people away, and Russians ran and hid in their attics and were terrified of every knock on the door. Now, they're doing a good job of taking away our backbone and taking away our spine and turning us into literal jellyfish people. But I have faith. I think there's people who are still have a strong backbone in this country. People who aren't going to give up. But that's where we're getting into hypothetical. You can't worry about FEMA coming to get you. You can't worry about the drones. Worry about you, your family. What are you going to do? It's coming. Folks, this is the Sound of Freedom on the Orion Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Ryan Brooks.